Hi guys, Paul from the innovation community here, and today I'm with Alessio Colantonio, who is the Director of Digital and Strategic Transformation for Continental Europe at BNP Paribas Cardif. So Alessio has been working hard to implement digital change at a well-established bank for the last 6 years or so. Great to have you with us.
Hi Paul, thanks for having me.
I gave you a short summary there. Tell us a bit about yourself in a few words to start.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Italy, and that's where I got my education and where I got my first work experiences. And what about myself, there have always been two things I've been passionate in my life. One is technology and the other one is aviation. So obviously I was fortunate enough to make technology, to make a career out of technology, and recently also take on aviation as a hobby of mine. So I'm trying to pursue these two passions that I got for.
Are you more of a fixed wing or rotary wing kind of guy?
I'm a fixed wing kind of guy. I fly single engine planes, so yeah, been loving it.
Interesting stuff. Do you fly a lot? What's your favorite country?
So I fly recreationally, so whenever I got the time for it, and I fly out of Prague, where I'm based in the Czech Republic, and I try to fly to neighboring countries. Now, when you ask me what's my favorite country, you kind of put me in a tough spot. Obviously, I love Italy. It's my own country. I'm an Italian at heart, so that will never change. But obviously, I got so many opportunities here in Czech Republic, so I'm very grateful for what I could experience here in the Czech Republic as well.
And where did your career working with data and digital start?
So I guess the start dates back to 2008, when I started with IBM at the time. That was the job that got me out of Italy, actually, and it was meant to be a 3 months trial experience type of thing, and then it went on for about 2.5 years. So that was great. And at the time, I was leading a team of system engineers, and we were working with data to really provide insights, valuable insights to customers all over Europe. So that was very interesting. First time for me to work with data at that scale.
Awesome stuff. So how has that changed since 2008?
Well, I guess I learned a lot. I had the opportunities to learn a lot. The ability to really put my skills to practice and learn from colleagues, mentors, and all of that has really enriched my career, my personal life. And I think this has given me a number of opportunities really to put my ideas in motion across the many companies I had the pleasure to work for.
So what are you up to in your current role?
Right, so I joined BNP Paribas approximately 3 years ago now. BNP Paribas Cardif is the insurance branch of the BNP Group, so obviously we have a global presence, but I am based in Prague together with my colleagues. So we have a team of about 100 people, and we deliver IT services for approximately 10 countries in continental Europe. So it's a fast-growing group of people, extremely talented people that we set off on creating, let's say, about 3 years ago now.
So what really interests you about working with data?
I think, see, from my personal point of view, the most interesting thing about data is the ability that gives you to take decision. I think decision making becomes so much easier when you have data to your disposal and you're able to leverage on that information. And I think this is becoming a regular thing. This is something that has changed the way leaders across all industries are making decisions these days, leveraging on that data that they have, and again making more informative decisions on the back of it.
So what would you describe as some of the major successes that you have achieved over your career?
Well, in terms of successes, I think again I owe a lot of the good experiences I had to the team and the professionals that were around me throughout the journey. Going back to the days in IBM, we were able to leverage on that data I mentioned earlier to really offer a whole new set of services to our customers, which was very rewarding. Then I was fortunate enough to have a very I would say diverse career path, and I moved over to BPO services after IBM, and I worked for Infosys, which is a global leader in BPO services. And in that sense, in that space, the team and I were able to deliver around 10 million euros in a single year worth of savings through a number of different process transformations and improvements, which was very rewarding to see, that material impact you had on the clients. And just more recently, really, as I transitioned into more finance environment, I worked for FNZ, which is a leading company in the wealth management platform and services. And in that area, I was able, again, with a very small but talented, motivated team, to launch the fastest growing platform for FNZ at the time. So very pleased with the things that have worked out so far, and again, blessed with the amount of talent I had access to and I could learn from.
Absolutely. What would you say was the most fun function that you worked in?
The most fun function?
Yeah, the one you spent the most, maybe not spent the most time in, but the one that you really enjoyed yourself in, or are they all enjoyable in different ways?
Right. I would say my time at FNZ was probably was very challenging, very demanding, chaotic at times even, but it was very rewarding as well. And we spent so much time together with our colleagues that we felt like brothers almost at some point. We were really into it together, and we were able to build that team spirit that it's not that common in all situations. So I think looking back, probably that one probably stands out a little bit more than the others.
Yeah, there is that awesome feeling of being in the trenches together,
yeah,
and the camaraderie
exactly.
that comes with that. So I can definitely agree.
Yes.
Tell me about a time you affected change in a major organization and some of the challenges that came with that.
Well, you talk about change, Paul. I think both during my time at Infosys as well as now my current times in BNP, I've been given an opportunity to face major transformations. And when it comes to transformation, there is one thing that stands out to me, and it's never really about data or technology. I tend to see those as a given. For me, it's more about people and culture. And by culture, I mean that the amount of habits and the amount of perspectives that people have, and that necessarily require a change in order for that transformation to take place. So that resistance that so builds up naturally is where I tend to put my focus and my energies on. Never too much on technology. Technology can basically do anything we want it to. It's more about people, really. I can't hear you anymore now, Paul.
So on that note, how are you currently leveraging technology to your advantage, and what effects do you think it will have over the next few years?
I think today it's not just us at BNP, but I think many companies see the importance of technology, and I don't think anyone can anymore claim technology is not our core business anymore. I think technology is becoming part, if not the core business of many companies. And going forwards, I think many typical product companies, and I've maybe put insurance into that pocket as well, will see themselves shift towards a more service-driven organization and kind of take the product as a commodity, really. So technology, I think, is going to play a key role in all of that.
And you mentioned a lot the word team, which I think is great, and
right.
how you work with people and culture. How would you describe your leadership style?
Well, if I need to think about my leadership style, I would say I'm a people person, or I like to believe I am. And I try to have a pragmatic approach to to what we do. So I tend to put people first, and I like to see the results of what people, the effort that people put forward. So I don't like to put all the ducks in a row, as they say, right? I like to be on the case and really push it so that we can see the results to the benefits of our customers, of our own people, the people that work with us. So I like to have that pragmatic approach to my leadership.
And how do you engage and communicate with your team members?
So I would say, especially in recent time, right, the remote engagement has been the daily. We have a pretty large team, so obviously even in pre-COVID times, we would make massive use of technology to keep up with our work, to plan its schedule, to monitor its execution. But more so recently, I think it's been, I would say, digital first engagement with all the team members. So we try to keep that approach. It gives us enough flexibility really to keep things going, regardless of whether or not we sit together then in the office as well. I lost you again, Paul.
A good question, considering you have a lot of functional experience as well. How do you communicate that up the chain? So when you're trying to communicate an idea with the senior leadership team, how does that go for you? What kind of strategies and tactics do you use?
Well, obviously, you want to always communicate very transparently and make it results driven, to highlight what matters in terms of bottom lines and what kind of transformation you can really foster. Now, in terms of how to do that, I prefer to do that always in person, and to have that human touch, human connection available. It's proven a little bit more difficult as of late, but I'm learning myself how to use technology in new ways, to transmit the same level of information and keep the level of engagement, even if we're not in the same room. So really focus on the end results, make it simple, show a clear path, and ideally do all of this in the same room whenever possible.
It's a little tricky right now, but definitely need that face-to-face interaction.
Correct, yeah.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity for improvement within your organization?
Well, see, I think many organizations these days are presented with a tremendous amount of opportunities. If I set aside for a moment the tremendous cost that the pandemic is having on everyone's lives and professions, but I think much like it happened back in 2008, out of that crisis, a number of new business ideas thrived, and a number of new very large companies to this date managed to achieve success. So I think the difficulties that we're going through will inevitably allow us to explore new ways of doing business, transform the existing business, or again, complete new lines of service or product. So there is a tremendous amount of opportunity in there for the take, and I think many companies will soon realize this and make it their new normal to focus on these opportunities.
Absolutely. And what do you think was the biggest mistake you made during your career?
Oh, well, how long do you have, Paul? No, look, I don't think I can. I made obviously many mistakes, as everybody does. It's hard to put the finger on the biggest one or a specific one. I also launched a startup that was able to turn a profit in 3 months, but then failed nearly as quickly a year and a half later. So there are many failures in one's life, but the way I like to look back at those is, they are lessons in a way. So you tend to learn from them, and it enriches your bag of experience. You carry those with you and try not to make them again, or try to do things differently next time. So yeah.
Yeah, the startup journey is definitely different to what you're doing now. What was your startup doing?
So we were doing, it was called Cool Identity with a K. And what we were doing, we were helping local businesses here in the Czech Republic to put themselves on the face of the web. So giving them a presence, an identity, all encompassing in terms of, websites and social media and all that to really place them on the map. It was very interesting, obviously, very different pace. I didn't have a sketch of a business plan. I really just went on with it. It was incredibly rewarding, a learning lessons, again, failure, but a failure that in a sense also proud to have made, because I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, and speaking from my own personal experience, I think that if you didn't do that idea and you didn't execute on it, you would always be wondering, what would happen if I did it? And now you've done it, and it went for a significant amount of time compared to a lot of startups. So congrats on that. I think you touched on it briefly just now, but what are your thoughts on the impacts of COVID-19?
Yeah, so as I said, Paul, I think obviously my thoughts to all of those have been impacted by it. I don't intend to diminish by any stretch of imagination the difficulties that some of us have gone through professionally or personally. But from a pure business standpoint, I think, again, there will be opportunities. There are already opportunities for the taking that companies across many industries will be pursuing. And that includes also banking and the financial industry as a whole. For the first time after 2008, we're not the cause of the issue. We might as well be the solution, right? So I think that there are options there and opportunities to be sought after.
Awesome. So how has that affected BNP Paribas Cardif too?
I think BNP, we're lucky that the BNP group is incredibly strong. And I think the financial strength has demonstrated itself, especially in very volatile times such as this. So the group being very strong with our liquidity has allowed us to keep our, focus razor sharp on, protecting our people, protecting our customers, and results show. I mean, we've had better results in this Q2 than we had last year at the group level. So the strength of the group is there. Obviously, at the local level, as I said, we had to focus and shift a little bit our approach. But yeah, I think I talk from a privileged position, being part of a group that is that strong.
Very, very humbling. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
I remember my mentor once scaring me off of inaction by saying, take action, don't sit on an issue, take action, and I'll be forever grateful to him for teaching me that. Definitely, it's a thought that I carry with me every time I'm facing a doubt or a decision, or I don't know really what to do. And I don't want to fall into the rabbit hole of, stalling, speaking of planes, right? Of stalling and not really taking a prompt decision. So that's probably the best advice I've got to date.
And what does your routine look like?
I don't really have a routine per se. I think the job affords me a good degree of variety and flexibility, which I'm very grateful for. I am a little bit of an early starter in the day, so I like to get up early and get some work done in the early hours where I feel I'm more productive. But then I like what I do, so I stop counting the hours, so that doesn't necessarily translate in an early finish. But yeah, I try to get the important stuff early in the morning. And then as far as routine goes, really.
Yeah, that's an intelligent approach, I think. What's your top working from home tip?
Make space for it, like physical space for it. My wife and I had to reorganize our lives as well when we went in lockdown, and we quickly transformed the room into a home office instead of working off of a kitchen table or something like this. And I think it had incredibly good results, or it was very, very helpful for us to really focus. While we are here in this room, we know we're doing work, and we keep the distractions outside the door as much as possible. So this worked out pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, creating those boundaries. What are you curious about right now?
Well, many things. Perhaps the thing I'm curious the most is really to see how industries will adapt, our companies will adapt in the face of this pandemic. And I think some companies already demonstrated a tremendous result and tremendous spirit in reacting in the face of these difficulties. And I'm very curious to see how many industries will change. Companies will, some companies will inevitably run out of business, but I think many others will thrive or reinvent themselves into something completely different. And I think this is particularly exciting to see how all this will roll out in the coming months.
Likewise. Who's currently your favorite thought leader or author?
Paul, I don't think I really have one that, would stand out. I think I have many in the past and they change as I do. Sometimes you focus on someone in particular. And besides praising your efforts with your podcast, which I think is great amount of information and great interviews, I've also been reading from another English entrepreneur called Rob Moore. And Rob also, he's written a dozen books with tons of practical advices on entrepreneurship and leadership in general. And he's also got a podcast himself called the Disruptive Entrepreneur. That's what it's called. And I find it very interesting and, again, entertaining also. So these are perhaps my references these days. Yeah.
And last question, what advice would you give for aspiring leaders in digital?
My advice, and perhaps not specifically to leaders in data or digital, but very generically, would be try, fail fast, and then try again, succeed, and repeat, right? I think that kind of work ethic of putting the hard work in is tremendously important, and getting to try out new things. I think we work in industries where they are ever changing, right? So the skill set required is always different, and you won't know how to do things from the start necessarily. So you need to get out there, try, fail, and be okay with that. Try again and do better next time.
Great advice from Alessio Colantonio from BNP Paribas Cardif. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, you, Paul.